There's been this trend that we've seen globalization as a universal positive. It's a great thing. We're more interconnected than ever. With this virus, this pandemic that has swept the globe, aided and abetted by, the fact that we travel everywhere, are we now going to look at globalization as being something that we embrace without considering many of the disadvantages and flaws behind it?
Globalization is dead. I mean, it should have died a long time ago, but it's kind of struggled on. But we will, this period of globalization we lived through between I'd make it 1989 to 2010 or thereabouts. It was the second age of globalization. The first age of globalization was 1870 to 1914. And there was free trade, and bankers in London were selling bonds to investors in New York on Argentine credit, and letters of credit were moving. There was trade moving all over the world, and that it kind of resembled the late 20th century. And then it hit a brick wall at 70 miles an hour called World War I. And the New York Stock Exchange was closed for 5 months between August and December 1914. And as were most major stock exchanges around the world, and the gold standard ended immediately. People went through the pretense of having gold. What they did is they hoarded the physical gold and just printed money. So that ended, and then the rest. Hyperinflation in the early 20s, depression in the 1930s, World War II, Cold War. And it wasn't until the fall of communism in stages between 1989 and 1991 that we got back to globalization. But it was the second time. The first time was real. The second time was a fraud. You had people like Jeffrey Sachs at Columbia and Richard Haas at the Council on Foreign Relations and a lot of others promoting this. But what it really was an enormous theft from the United States of financial capital, intellectual property, et cetera, for the benefit of China. And I'd like to say that, the only thing worse than a poor communist is a rich communist. So what we did is we created a lot of rich communists, and here we are. But no, the globalization is dead. It's been completely discredited. Tom Friedman and Richard Haas and Sachs and the rest can go off and write their papers, but the real world has moved on.